Hi, welcome to my channel. In this video, prepare to be amazed how Lightroom can transform your photos that you can be proud of. In this step-by-step tutorial, I'll take you through each Lightroom panel, show you how everything works, which will empower you to turn ordinary photos into stunning images. This will allow you to unleash your creativity, push the boundaries of editing and cultivate your own distinctive style that will bring your photos to life. And if you like more content like this, be sure to subscribe. So let's get into Lightroom. So the first things you want to do is import your photos. I've already done it, but I'll just go through the process just to show you guys. So you'll go into import like I just did, and then you can choose the images that you want. Maybe that, and you have a list of photos. This is the photos I did for my light painting video. If you like all the photos that are in there, you can then click to import, which I've already done so I'm going to click cancel. So this is what you're presented once you've imported your photos. So what I've done is I've highlighted a select number of photos that I want to work on, and it's a little white flag that you can put on there. So if you go on there, you can go into the top corner and actually click on that, and then it will bring up a little flag. Then you go to the filter button here. I want to work on that one, so that's where I am with this. So this is the first photo we're going to work on. The next thing I want to do is crop the photo, get it into a crop that I want. Because when I took this photo, my horizon's not in the rule of thirds. So let's go to the crop, bring up the crop, and I've got my ratio section here, so I just click O, go over to the rule of thirds, which is there. Then I want to set my ratio 16:9 for me, because I want this as a landscape. It's a wide section. Just bring it down to get the top third line on the horizon. Just bring it over, because roughly I want a third there and a third there. Then I can toggle over to my golden ratio, which will help, and it also highlights this region here as a subject of interest, which is a good one to use. The painters throughout the centuries used this, and you can see that it just takes your journey throughout the image all the way through and incorporates the important areas that are lined. So return, and it comes up quite nice. So that's done. Next thing is you can see that I have these buttons highlighted, and what that does then is tell me what is completely underexposed with no detail on the shadows and overexposed on the highlights. And you can see this red area here means it's clipping the edge. When I did that, because obviously I took a picture of a sunset and the brightest area was there, so I exposed for the sky and just exposed to the right hand side slightly, but try to avoid as much clipping as I can to bring up the shadows as much as I can. So in post-processing like now, I can bring the shadows up still without introducing too much grain. So what we want to do is reduce that. So you can go into your basic section here, and you can make these adjustments, what we call globally, that is, you'll adjust everywhere. So if you bring down your shadows, so just show you this, for instance, that all went blue. You can see what happens, more of this area goes blue, so that's just so you can see now all that redness is gone. And you go to the whites and you can bring that down, and you can see it's not clipping on the histogram anymore. And you may be able to bring up your shadows now, and then it will just take it away from there. So you put your shadows up. What it's done is brought up the sea colour, which is a bit too much, which I don't like. So I need to separate those two elements. So what I'm going to do is change all that back like that. I might just do the highlights here because I like that there. That's brought down the sky. So the next thing I'll do is go into the masking section, go into select sky, which will select sky for me. So that's good. Then I want to create another mask, and I'll select objects to select the ocean. What that means is then you just bring down this area here, and you're just selecting the areas that you want for the mask to find. And this, you don't have to be like specific, because the AI will pick out the edges for you. So you just highlight that whole area there, and it'll work its magic. And there you go. So it's picked out the sea, which is nice. And there's some areas up there that it's included, so I need to minus that. And you just go onto the minus button there in that particular mask, and then you collect which I've collected the brush, and I'm just going to remove that specific section there on that specific bit, and then obviously there's a little bit of the island there. I'm being a little bit crude. You would normally zoom into these areas and be really specific, but I'm just going through the process for you just to show the elements, and then when you go through it yourself, you'll actually see this work for you. So the next one I'll do is another trick that I like to use, and I just noticed one thing, is this area. That's it, let's get rid of that. Is now create a new trick, is select sky again, but you can use this invert button and then reverse it. So I'm going to go through the same process because I just want the foreground highlighted. So you go to the minus tab, select object, and then you can go through the whole thing again, selecting the ocean. It will do the same thing, but it will minus it from the mask that you've chosen. You've got 3 sections now you can work off. So you have, so let's start with the foreground. So I can see a little bit in a minute. I'm going to make some more adjustments, but I'll do that in a minute once they become more prominent. So the shadows, I'll lift the shadows up, and you can see I can lift the shadows up in there now. And you can see the histogram change here. Bring down the highlights a little bit and the whites. So now you can start to see the differences here. So I'm just then going to do another minus tool, because you see the little bright bits here. So I need some more little changes to be made. So I'm just now going to just take these areas out here because they're a bit of a distraction, and I can minus them. You can see that that's a little better now. So it's just these odd little things that you see that you want to remove. So you're back into your main section there, and I'll leave the temperature alone because I'm going to do that globally, but you can start using a tone curve within the mask section which is a really good idea. So you can now individually adjust using a tone curve, and this is where you would create your contrast in your image, basically using a tone curve. So you bring that up and down there, and you go through the colour range like that, back down there, and you can see the changes being made. Now obviously when you do your photos in this and you use this technique, you'll be a lot more careful, like I normally am. But I'm just speeding through this just to show you all the elements and how they work. Now I'll just add this one here. So this button here, you click on that, you can go over the area of the image. It doesn't matter where, even if you're in a mask, you can see what's happening. It's highlighting bright and darkened areas. So you go over an area which is brighter, and you can start making changes even on screen, which is really handy. And so if you go to a darker area, you can see what's happening. And maybe you prefer to do it this method, but there's an option you got there. So I'll just go over, double click, delete control point, so it keeps just the 3 control points you want. So you can see how you can do that just by using the tool that you put over there. So that's all good. So that's where I want that there now. And you have got texture, so you can bring up your texture. You can have a look at clarity if you want, make some changes and decide what you want with that, but I'm okay with that now. So let's go over to the sea. So next is the sea. So let's have a look at the sea highlight wise. And it was a little bit too bright in the darker section, so I'm going to bring that down a bit. Shadows a little bit more, just a bit, because see, this is all dark, so you want the sea to kind of represent that as well. You don't want it looking out of place. And then bring down the shadows a little with the whites, so you can get a little bit more of a reflection in the sea itself. Might bring up the temperature a little bit on that one, because saturation, that's quite an aggressive tool, so I won't touch that, but I will go through the tone curve and create a little bit of contrast in there. And now you can start to see things coming to life as you build through the section. So that's why I like to break this up into 3 areas. I can just change specific areas. You can see now that's really coming to life. You know, it's just bringing out all the colours that's reflecting from the sky. And just that little adjustment there with the tone curve, so powerful. You know, small little adjustments, you can see how much of a difference that's made. That's quite good. So that's that, and now we go to the sky. And then we'll have a look at the sky and we'll look at the shadows. We've already done a bit of work globally, but we'll do a little bit more. So we'll just lift the shadows up a bit right in the sky, because you can see now it's starting to lean towards the dark end, but we'll go and cover that in a minute. So just bringing down the shadows, bring down the highlights and the whites, maybe just bring up the blacks a little bit. That's it. So I've got where I want on that. Now we do the tone curve with this. You can see now the changes being made to that. That's quite good. And get the colours punching out in the sky. So it's a little bit of a red sky, but we haven't finished going through the colour range yet, so you can see the difference at the end. And we go through and bring out the colours. You can see now, this is really coming into play, and you can see the whole thing is starting to change. So I'm happy with that. Now I want to go into the global settings. So let's have a look at the foreground and see what we got. So we want to bring the foreground up a little bit more, just a tad. So there's a little bit more work I want to do here. So where that -1 is there, I just brought that up, that's okay. So as you can see, using these tools, and this is really the principle of this video, is showing you the tools, where once you apply it to your photos, obviously you'll be a lot more careful in what you're doing, as I do when I'm actually editing the photos. So that's it. Let's go into the global edit section now. Now we can start to see what we can do with the shadows, and just lift up the shadows a bit more. Now you get a little bit better of a change, not too mad now. You know, bring up the whites, and you can see now it's a little bit better evenly exposed. Let's bring that down to see what's happening with that. Maybe lift up the blacks a little bit. That's it. And now you can see a nice change in the photo. Everything's nicely exposed. You can see everything's off the shadows, and we've got a little bit of highlights there. And then we can start looking at global textures. Just a little hint. Don't want to do too much. Clarity, it's quite nice. Go into the vibrance, lift that a little bit more. Okay. So the tone curve globally, we can maybe see what happens with that. You can see what happens. That's starting to come to life globally now. Just a little change. You can see really, look at that detail coming out of the rocks there. The whole thing's starting to come to life. And then you just start making those little tweaks globally, which will even out all the colours. And I'll show you a little trick in a minute in the detail section, which is amazing for this. So you can see now that deep colour that's coming through, which is beautiful. We get some colours coming out the greens, and you're not making major changes, you're just making a little bit of a change there. See this photo really coming to life, how the sea's really golden there because it's reflecting the sky from above, and that's just really nice. I like that. So, and I haven't even touched the temperature, so that's beautiful. So if we go back into the basics, and that's a bit too high, so I'm just going to change that to 500, 500. Just cool it down a bit, and that's better. So this is your white balance. This is what adjusts your white balance in your camera. I think I had mine on auto, so gone through the tone curve. Now the HSL colour. So this is a wonderful little tool. And what I do here, because I don't want to go through individuals, I let it go onto the screen. So then I go over areas that I feel that I might want to adjust. So if I come up here and come into this section, you can see what colours the camera, Lightroom, we've decided to adjust. And you just come over and you can make these adjustments, get a little bit of redness in the sky. You can see it's just adjusted different areas. And then if you come into this section here, it's going to be more blue. You can see that the blue is adjusting, so you can bring up the blue, but all the areas that are blue there. You can see the nice reflections that happen throughout the shot. So I'll go into this purple and see if it's actually highlighting the purple. So you can see you can punch out the colours a lot more. It's just highlighted those areas. Maybe in the greens, so you can punch out the greens a bit more. This is chosen the blue, so you can see now it's actually made the changes without you worrying. So you can do the saturation, similar. So just pick out saturation, it's yellow in it. So anything yellow, it's just going to pick it up, because some reason that is yellow, it's picking out. So that's blue. So you can see now the colours really coming out nicely in there. So you've got the green and yellow there. So it's really beautiful. So you've got a bit of haziness there, but that's natural, and that will occur naturally anyway. So now you've developed and you've brought out that red line that was there when I took the photo. So this is really getting as close to when I took the shot. So that's really nice. And this area here, this was quite bright in that section. I was quite amazed. So if you go into colour grading next, this is this section here. So these are just the colour wheels, and generally I just make slight finite adjustments here. So this is your midtones, which is kind of middle of the tonal range in the colour grading range. So I usually keep this in the darker. This is your shadows, so they're generally in the blue section. So I'll bring them down and bring them into the blue section. Then what I do is in your highlights is in the brighter section, so you can bring them up there. And that's a real basic way of using the colour grading section. And you can make enhance those areas, as you can see here, what you do, and then you can see how it's affected the histogram, making these slight changes here. So you can bring the darks down, you can see what's happened. It's really brought the details out of this rock. That's beautiful. You know, it's really punched it out, and also you can see the red roofs in that section there. And now you can start to bring out all the different colour areas just by making these little changes, all the little details. And you can see now the sea has really come to life. So I'm really pleased how this has worked out now. And the histogram's told me it's reasonably exposed as well now. It's not clipping each end. It's pushed in, and they've got even tonal values throughout the histogram. So I did do a video on the histogram, and I'll put the link in above. That's beautiful. Also, if you like the video so far, then be sure to subscribe and hit that like button and press the notification bell for future uploads as well, because I'll be doing more videos like this in the future in different aspects. But this is just just going over the basic areas of that, but I thought it was good to show you some areas. So now we're going to the detail. This is the amazing new one that's come out. So if we just zoom in and then look at any distortion or grains, the noise that's in the scene. So I'll bring up, so there's a little bit of noise there that I want to get rid of. Not too bad actually, but you can see it's got good detail throughout the image. So I just want to reduce it, so I'm just going to press this denoise feature now, which is an amazing feature. If you've got a picture that's quite noisy, this will clean it up like you wouldn't believe. It brings up there, such as content aware, so you can see how it cleans this image up. It gives you a detail there, so it's not too bad. But let's just enhance this, and then it will just work it out. So it's creating another image, a separate image for the cleaned up file. The next thing I'm going to do is create one more mask, and I just want to bring out a linear gradient on here. So I'm just going to create a linear gradient. The reason why I want to do that is help the eye come through a little bit more. So now I'm just going to bring down the shadows here. So it should do, and then it should bring down, the exposure should be better like that. There you go. So I'm just bringing that down a little, just helps the eyeball create that guide out through the tonal. So I'm going to do the top for the sky as well. Create that, another linear gradient, come up the top, and then just bring down the exposure, just create a little bit of what that does is these dark areas help guide the eye to the centre of the image, and that's it. And I'm happy with that. It's a beautiful photo. So next is lens correction. You come down here, and then if you haven't filled these boxes in, which I already have, and it's detected what lens I've got, which I use, which is a 2870, the Canon and everything else, it's done it automatically. But if it don't, just check these boxes, and you can list the cameras that you use. And so you've got even DJI with your drone, if you use a drone, GoPro. So then you can it will correct any imperfections that it finds that the lens has, and sometimes it does with the optics and everything else, and create some abnormalities and cause some problems. But that's what can happen there. But that's it. So that's Lightroom basics in a nutshell as well. So I wanted to introduce some masking just to show that you can use masking in a really good technique, is to isolate different areas of the image and change them independently of the rest of the image, which is really good. And you can build your image up and then just make some final adjustments globally just across the whole board. But you can then use the mask really specifically in specific areas and really work on them. So you can use that to really good effect and create as many masks as you like. So as you develop your techniques in grading your photos and your style, you can start to bring in those techniques and create really specific images that are unique to yourself and your own creativity. So that's it for this video. I hope you really did enjoy it, and please remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and also press the notification bell for future uploads. And I'll see you in the next video. So you take care.